The Tanya for the 8th day of Nissan is in chapter 39, Perek Lamed Tes, on Daf Nun Beis Amud Aleph, or on page 190. The Alter Rebbe said earlier that a mitzvah without a kavanah is like a body without a neshama, which means that the neshama of the mitzvah, when a person performs a mitzvah, is the kavanah with which the mitzvah is performed. And just as in Gashmis, we find that there are 4 elements in the world. 2 of them are primarily body, and 2 are primarily soul. And of the 2 that are soul, the animal soul and the human soul, the same is true also in mitzvahs, that there are 2 kinds of neshamas to the mitzvahs, animal neshamas and human neshamas. The difference between the animal and the human is that the human does what he does by choice and by intelligence, whereas the animal does what he does or feels what he feels by instinct. And those are the 2 kinds of kavanah, the 2 kinds of neshama that a mitzvah can have. One neshama is when a person understands godliness and can think about the greatness of God so intimately and so deeply that he begins to develop a love and a fear for God from the knowledge, out of the knowledge that he has. That's called love and fear that are derived from intelligence. And then there's another kavanah which serves as a neshama for the mitzvah, and that is when a person arouses the natural love that every Jew has, even the lowest of the low, that natural love that every Jew has for God that needs only to be revealed, but not created out of intelligence or out of understanding of godliness. And this can be done even without the understanding. This too is a neshama. This too is a kavanah. But this is more like the instinctive kavanah, the inborn neshama of an animal, and that's why it is called the kavanah of a chai. That's also why angels are called animals, chayes, because for them too, their love and their fear of God are instinctive and not the result of their intelligence. Therefore, the person who serves God with love and fear, that gives the mitzvah a neshama, but this love and fear comes from intelligence and understanding. Therefore, that neshama rises to the world of Bria, because the world of Bria is where God's intelligence is revealed, the divine attributes of intelligence. Whereas the person who serves God with natural love, all he does is reveal it and bring it to the fore, bring it out of its hiddenness. And with that love and fear, he does mitzvahs and serves God. Therefore, that neshama rises to the world of Yetzirah, which is the world of emotion. But to the world of Bria, which is called Gan Eden Ha'elyon, to that world this neshama cannot rise. It is only the neshama that serves God out of great knowledge and wisdom and understanding that can rise to the world of Bria, which is the place of God's wisdom, where God's wisdom is revealed, and that is the world that is called Gan Eden Ha'elyon, the higher level Gan Eden. Now we'll continue on Daf Nun Beis Amud Aleph, beginning in the line that begins with the word Gan Eden, approximately in the middle of the page. But this is true only of the level neshama itself. In other words, we're using the word neshama in its literal sense. That part of the soul that is called neshama. It is that part of the soul, shehein bechinas meichen de gadlus ein sev baruch hu. It is that part of the neshama that understands the greatness of God, which can rise to the level of the world of Bria. Aval bechinas haruach shel hatzadikim, but the level of ruach, the neshama is made up of nefesh, ruach, neshama, and then there are higher levels. But the neshama level of the neshama, that's the part that understands God's greatness. That's the part of the neshama that rises to the world of Bria. But the part of the neshama that is called ruach, even the ruach of the soul of tzaddikim, V'chein shar kol neshamas Yisrael. She'avdu es Hashem b'dechilu rechimu. HaMesutaris b'lev klolos Yisrael. All other souls of other Jews who serve God with love and fear, that is inborn in the hiddenness of the heart that exists in every Jew, those neshames ein eiles lisham do not rise to the world of Beriah rak b'Shabbos v'Reish Chodesh levad, except on Shabbos and Reish Chodesh alone. Derech ha'amud shemegan Eden hatachten legan Eden ha'elyon shehu elam haBriah hanikra gan Eden ha'elyon. They rise to the world of Beriah from the world of Yetzirah, which is the lower Gan Eden. They rise through the pillar that connects the lower Gan Eden to the higher Gan Eden, which is the world of Beriah, which is called the higher Gan Eden. V'hisan egal Hashem, and there they take pleasure in God. V'lehenes miziv hashchina, and to take pleasure in the presence of the Shechina, ki ein hano v'tainug l'seichel nivra, because there's no other pleasure, there's no other enjoyment for the intelligence of a created being, ela b'mashem maskil u'meven v'yedeya u'masik b'sichli u'binasi, other than from that which he understands and comprehends and grasps in his mind. Masha efshalei, whatever it is that a created being is capable of understanding, lahavin ulahasik me'erein sev baruchu, of the light of godliness, al yidei chachmasa ubinase yizbarech, through the divine wisdom, God's wisdom, hameirei sham, that illuminate there, the elam habriya, in the world of Beriah, there the intelligence of the neshama can get its fulfillment and its satisfaction from understanding that which is available to be understood in the world of Beriah. And that's why it rises to the world of Beriah, at least on Shabbos and on Reish Chodesh, because that's the only pleasure, that's the only tainug that a neshama can have. The seichel of the neshama is when it understands and comprehends and grasps godliness with its comprehension. And that takes place in the world of Beriah. And the reason that these neshamas, the neshamas that serve God only with the natural inborn love and fear that is hidden in the heart of every Jew, the reason that they can rise above the level of angels, we started off in the beginning of the Perek, comparing them, saying that the angels are also called chai. They are also called animals, because they have an instinctive love for God, and not one created out of intelligence. And here we're saying that the neshama rises to a higher level than the angels. Even though they served God with a love and fear that is instinctive, without the higher level of love and fear, so why is it that they rise higher than the angels? Because it's through their love and fear that when they choose to reveal the love and fear that they have within the heart, but needs to be revealed, by doing that, they subdue the unholiness that exists in their body. Since they're in contact with unholiness, and in order to choose, and in order to reveal the love and fear that exists within the heart, but is by nature hidden, in order to reveal that, they have to overcome the tug or the pull of the klipa, and by overcoming it, they subdue the klipa. Bein bebechin asur meira, both when they refuse to do a sin, lich beishatai veso l'shabram, by overcoming the passion and breaking the passions, that certainly subdues the klipa. Ubein bebechin azvasei tev kinal, and also in the doing of positive mitzvahs, as we learned earlier that there is a need to overcome and struggle with the animal soul, and by doing that, they deserve to rise higher than the angels who don't subdue any klippa, when they instinctively love God and fear God. And here the Alter Rebbe says that the person, the human being, who serves God with instinctive love and fear, overcomes his klippa and subdues the klippa, both in avoiding the negative, in avoiding the sin, and in doing the mitzvah, because in that way he engages both the love and the fear. The love is expressed in the doing of the mitzvah, and the fear is expressed in avoiding the sin. That's why they can rise to a world higher than the world of the malachim, of the angels. The world of the angels is the world of Yetzirah, and on occasion the neshama that serves God with instinctive love rises to the world of Bria. More specifically, the connection of these neshamas to the world of Bria, Veheim Hoyu Baalei Bechira, these people, unlike the angels, were creatures who have freedom of choice. Livche berachas v'sholem, they had the freedom to choose the evil, to choose the klippa, ubacharu b'teiv, and they chose instead the good. La'achfai yolasitra achro, and in doing so, they spited the klippa, and they subdued the klippa, l'istaloka yikara de kochaberichu, ki yisen ha'er kenal. And through doing that, as we learned earlier, that by subduing klippa, a godliness is revealed that is greater and higher than ordinary revelations of godliness, just as there is a greater light that comes after darkness. So since the angels don't have freedom of choice, because their love and fear of God is instinctive, therefore they have no connection to the world of Bria, which is a world of intelligence. Whereas the Jew who serves God with instinctive love and fear, although they also don't have the intelligence which would make the world of Bria their appropriate place, but since they choose the love and fear, and choosing is also an act of intelligence, it is also a symptom of the human being that separates the human from the animal. Therefore, in some way, they do have a connection, they have some relevance in the world of Bria, which is the world of intelligence. Now all of this distinction between the world of Bria and the world of Yetzirah, that the neshama that serves God with intelligent love and fear belongs in the world of Bria, and the neshama that serves God with an instinctive love and fear belongs in the world of Yetzirah, and only on occasion do they rise to the world of Bria. All of this is true of the neshama itself. The neshama itself is either located permanently in one of the two worlds, or can on occasion stand in one of the two worlds. But that's only the neshama itself. But the Torah and the mitzvahs that the neshama does, regardless of what kind of a neshama it is, nichloles mamish biyud tzviris. The mitzvahs that a person does and the Torah that a person learns, it rises not to the world of Bria or the world of Yetzirah, but rather to the divine attributes themselves. Shehein b'chinas elikuz ve'erein seif misyachid b'hem b'tachlis hayichud. The divine attributes are not created conditions, they are godliness itself, and God is totally united and revealed there. Now in the connection that the mitzvah and the Torah that a person studies and does has to the divine attributes, here also there's a distinction. The mitzvahs that are performed through intelligent love and fear rise to the 10 attributes of the world of Bria. Not the world of Bria itself, but even higher to the attributes within the world of Bria. Uvi the Yetzirah, and the mitzvahs and the Torah connect to the 10 sviris, to the 10 attributes of the world of Yetzirah if they are performed through love and fear that is instinctive. In other words, in the person there is both the neshama and the Torah and the mitzvahs that the person does. The neshama is a created condition. That part of the neshama that is within the body is a created condition, whereas the Torah and the mitzvahs that the neshama does is higher than the neshama itself. It is what God wants. It is God's will. The mitzvahs are. The same is true also of the higher worlds. In the world of Bria, for example, there is the world itself. In other words, the created condition called Bria. And although the created condition called Bria, the world of Bria, is much higher, much more refined than the created condition of our world, yet it too is a world. It is a created being. In that created being there is also the divine. There is also the presence of God. Just as in this world there is the created part, the created condition of this world, and then there are the Torah and mitzvahs that God reveals into the world. So he says that the neshama, which is a created being, rises to the created condition, the condition of the world of Bria, if he serves God with a love and fear born out of intelligence. If he serves God with a love and fear that is instinctive and inborn, then the neshama, the created condition of the neshama, rises to the world of Yetzirah, the created condition of Yetzirah. But the Torah and mitzvahs that a person does, which are not created beings at all, but rather a manifestation of God himself, the Torah and mitzvahs, they rise not to the created condition of Yetzirah or Bria, but to the divine revelation within those two worlds, just as the Torah and mitzvahs are divine revelations themselves. Uveteichon, and in the 10 attributes of each world, miluboshes yutzvides da'atzilus, there is a presence of the 10 attributes of the highest of all worlds, the world of Atzilus. Umiyuchodes bohem betachlis, and they are completely united and joined, unlike the worlds, the created conditions of Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah, where each one of them is separate and stands alone and does not join with the other. The godliness of the worlds, godliness is all one, so that in the 10 attributes of Yetzirah there are the 10 attributes of Atzilus, and they're totally united. The Yutzviris da'atzilus, and the 10 attributes of Atzilus, miyuchodes betachlis b'ma'atzilon ein sev baruch hu, are completely joined and united with God himself. So the mitzvahs, as we learned earlier, are much higher than the neshama itself. And that's why the mitzvah serves as the oil that connects the Shekhinah to the wick, whereas the neshama would not serve that purpose. And we see here how the mitzvahs connect to the divine presence of the world, which basically is God himself, whereas the neshama connects to the created condition, to the world itself. Mash'ein ken ha-neshamas, whereas the neshamas themselves, not the mitzvahs that they do, einon nichlolis belikus diyotzvireis, are not absorbed into the godliness of the 10 attributes, rather, their place is in the chambers, which means in the created condition of the worlds of Yetzirah and Bria. And there they take pleasure, and they have the enjoyment of the ziv of the Shekhinah, the rays of the Shekhinah, who ein sev baruch hu, the pleasure that they get is from that light which is connected to the 10 attributes within their respective worlds. What light is this? It is the ziv, the light that is created by the mitzvah and the Torah that the person learned here on earth. The mitzvah itself is a divine light, only here on earth we don't see it and we don't feel it, whereas when the neshama comes to the higher worlds, there it enjoys and takes pleasure in those divine lights that the neshama itself created through its study of Torah and its performance of mitzvahs. Ki schar mitzvah hi mitzvah atzmo, because the reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah itself, which means that the mitzvah itself generates its reward, in that when we do the mitzvah, we don't see and appreciate and enjoy the godliness that it represents. Whereas when we come to the higher world, the reward of the mitzvah is that divine condition which the mitzvah itself represents is revealed, and we begin to understand it and enjoy it. On this note, where the Rebbe is saying that the neshama rises to a higher level than the angel because it has freedom of choice and because it subdues the klippa, the Frierdiker Rebbe says in a Maimer that because of this very reason, the neshama that serves God with instinctive love, because it is incapable of understanding God, it is not such a high neshama that it comes from the world of Bria, and therefore is capable of comprehending godliness, and therefore rises back to that world naturally, but only on occasion does it rise there. This same advantage that this neshama has over the angels, it also has over the higher neshama. Because the higher neshama that comes from the world of Bria really doesn't have as much effect on Klippa as the lower neshama has, because the lower neshama is more in touch with Klippa. It comes from a lower world. It comes from the world of Yetzirah, in which we are told that good and evil are half and half, balanced, whereas in the world of Bria, it is primarily good with only a little bit of evil. And so the neshama of Bria doesn't really elevate or subdue Klippa at all. It is the neshama of the lower world that has this advantage and this ability to subdue Klippa and to elevate Klippa. And because of it, it in fact has an advantage, and it is higher than the higher neshama, whose place is in the world of Bria. Concerning the Hayom Yom, for the 8th day of Nissan, the Rebbe writes that every neshama has its particular avodah, both in the area of seichel, of intelligence, and in emotions. And this is in accordance with the nature of the neshama and the character of the neshama. How does the neshama know what its avodah is? It says, "Me'evai techakmeni," from my enemies you've given me wisdom, which means that from the evil tendencies that one finds in his natural character, in his natural tendencies, he can become wise to know how to handle the correction of those traits, and that they need to be corrected, and how to subordinate his powers, his faculties, in the service of God.